The Grim Drive podcast explores mental health through the lens of professional sports and athletes. Pro athletes come forward more and more with stories about their mental health journey, what they have endured, and how they managed to push through, reflecting a mental health stigma that continues to be reduced. Pro athletes also leverage mindset to achieve peak performance, as well as representing and often driving elements of popular culture through the use of social media, technology, and personal branding. This places athletes front and center as role models for people of all ages, giving them a platform to reach many and deliver important information, including information about mental health. Welcome to the Grim Drive podcast, where we explore mental health through the lens of professional sports and athletes. Today we have a brief episode. We did a recap episode last time about episodes like our 11 through 20 episodes. We talked about what Grim Drive is. Today it's going to be short. We're just going to really get into the direction of the podcast, as well as one of the reasons we did this quick filler episode is just to kind of give us a break. I think so. We're going to talk about what in a little bit what the direction of the podcast is going to be and some minor changes we're going to make a little bit. But also, we pride ourselves on balance in our life, right? Like, yes, we have the Grim Drive, but we also know where that line is. And so we're balanced. And we thought after 20 episodes, it's a great time to kind of take a step back, focus on our own mental fitness a little bit, give ourselves some space to kind of step back from the painting, right? Try to assess what we've done so far with this podcast, where we want things to go. But also get some balance in our life so that we stay in a good place, because it is very demanding to not just do the podcast, but everything we try to manage with our business and things like that. We put a lot of time into the purpose that we're tied into. And so part of it's for that, to give us a little bit of a break. We're going to be back recording within a few weeks, but I think it's this kind of gets us from A to B. And so in terms of the direction of the podcast, John, maybe you can speak to, some slight pivots we're going to make moving forward.
Yeah, I think, you summed it up. I think, we want to take a break because I think we want to, we preach a lot about self-care and being able to, you said, like, step back and just taking a breath, and where we want to be with more purposeful with this piece and just kind of shaking things up a little bit. So, but the new structure, we really want to start to get into some more current event type of stuff that's going on in sports currently, and being able to sort of reflect on different things that are going on in the world as they go on more, week to week versus, responding from things that might be happening 5-6 years ago that athletes have come out and talked about, being a little bit more, I think, even the landscape of like 2018, when a lot of the stuff that we've started to cover started like surfacing, a lot has changed since that time, and being a little bit more, there's more language around it, there's more awareness around it. And I think we wanted to be putting ourselves more in the conversation that people are having more currently. We want to be putting ourselves in that same boat, as things sort of come up in the sports world, to be able to really reflect on that. Give our insights about that for whatever value people value placed on that, and sort of shaping it a little bit more around that.
Yeah, and I think that's, we've touched on some key athletes that have been really instrumental in the stigma being reduced, and the kind of movement that's taken place and taken hold of the sports world in terms of athletes being aware and open about their mental health. We've covered those key athletes. I think we've covered some really key topics with regard to mental fitness, mental health, mental illness. And now, instead of having specific mental health related topics, I think we're going to try to look at current events and talk about what's happened in the sports world, how that relates to these athletes, how it relates to mental health, mental fitness, mental illness, and maybe shine a light on specific people from time to time when they are central to that news, and also reflect on what that means for fans, what it means for non-athletes, and what it means for athletes in terms of some of the concepts that come up through the current events. So I think the format's going to be a little bit shorter form. Instead of hour-long episodes, it might be like half-hour episodes. But we're excited. I feel like this is going to allow us to kind of like touch on more current stuff, like you said, instead of, tying back into like things in 2018 and stuff like that. We're going to focus on what's happening now, and maybe we'll even, try to talk about things on the horizon for the sports world or for mental health and stuff like that. So we're pretty excited about that. It can go in a lot of different cool directions, and we're open-minded to that. And I think taking a little bit of a step back will help us assess where we want it to go as well. So
Yeah.
we're appreciative for everyone listening.
Yeah, I think we talk about like zooming back from the painting. I think the 20 episodes that we've sort of recorded previously have all been sort of like very narrowly focused on like one athlete, one issue, or something like that. And now we're really trying to zoom back out and see a little bit of a broader landscape of how do these conversations impact the larger scene. And so I'm really looking forward to being more involved in that conversation and sort of putting our voices in there. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I encourage anyone listening, if they have feedback for us about topics they want to see covered or things that they think would be relevant to hear, licensed therapists discuss when it comes to mental health, sports, the overlap, feel free to let us know. I mean, you can find me on Twitter. It's at Jotham LICSW, or on Instagram at Jotham Busfield. You're on Instagram as well.
Yep, at John B. Cunha, JONB as in Bob, Cunha, CUNHA.
Okay. So I encourage people to kind of, comment on a post of ours or try to follow us and then direct message and anything that gives us feedback about stuff we can cover. We're always open-minded about that kind of stuff. And yeah, we appreciate everyone listening. We hope you continue to listen and tune into our episodes. They're released weekly, usually Tuesday evenings on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. We've had a website changeover, so I think the domain.com, not a huge fan of them. It was tough. Our hosting with domain.com did not work out that well. We've rolled with it, so we've got a new host now, but in case anyone's had some issues with the website, we apologize for that. That should be rectified and up and running pretty soon, so that we won't have any issues with that moving forward for the grimdrive.com website. So again, we thank everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week with our first episode kind of from the new format.
Yeah,
thanks
looking forward
everyone.
to it.